Good morning, everyone. My name is Priyanka Rangadas. I'm a part of the GreenRoots Health Equity Core, and on behalf of GreenRoots, I'm grateful to be introducing our pitch to you today. Our organization fights for environmental justice in Chelsea and East Boston. Chelsea is the smallest city and second most densely populated in the state of Massachusetts. More than 79% of Chelsea identifies as people of color, and 18% fall below the federal poverty line. Neighboring East Boston has similar demographics. Living in the shadows of major industries causes huge environmental and health burdens on our city's residents. Along the Chelsea Creek, we store 100% of Logan Airport's jet fuel, 80% of the region's heating fuel, gasoline for thousands of gas stations along the Mid-Atlantic, and road salt for over 350 cities in New England. We are also home to one of the largest produce distribution warehouses in the nation. These industries, along with critically important bridges and tunnels, result in hundreds of thousands of cars and diesel spewing trucks traveling through our communities. Additionally, 80% of Chelsea is considered impervious. Only 4% of the city has open green space, and our tree canopy cover is a scathing 2%. Chelsea and East Boston are clear examples of environmental injustice. As a frontline community facing these disproportionate environmental burdens, we anticipated a major climate crisis would hit Chelsea, not a global pandemic. At its peak in April 2020, Chelsea residents had 6 times the infection rate of COVID-19 compared to the rest of the state. COVID-19 ravaged our community, and we are working hard to fight our way back. Over the past year, our Health Equity Core and vaccine ambassadors have made 4,000 calls, knocked on over 6,000 doors, distributed over 4,800 wellness kits, and used social media to connect with residents and raise awareness around COVID. Our work and that of our community partners has resulted in Chelsea having a vaccination rate far surpassing 70%. This is how GreenRoots tackles the issues that confront our community. We engage and empower residents, and together we implement resident-led solutions. One of the ways we're fighting inequities is by combating the health challenges that come with extreme heat. The following video presents GreenRoots' innovative solutions that we are implementing in our city. Support from thriving cities will help us to achieve our goals to bring nature-based solutions to Chelsea. Thank you.
Pertenezco a la organización de GreenRoots y trabajo para esta organización. Vivo en Chelsea por alrededor de unos 36 años aproximadamente y sé la injusticia que hay sobre el ambiente. Estamos trabajando para ver si podemos hacer como más parques para que haya más raíces verdes. Vivo cerca de donde quieren hacer este proyecto, que es en la Congress. Así es que los invitamos a todos a que nos ayuden a hacer todos estos proyectos venideros. Gracias.
Madeline Scammell. I'm an associate professor of environmental health at Boston University School of Public Health. I'm also a long-term resident of the city of Chelsea and a member of GreenRoots. And for the last 2 summers, starting in the pandemic, we've been hanging these temperature sensors around the city to monitor the heat, and also in people's homes as part of the Chelsea East Boston heat study.
Hi, I'm Tom Ambrosino, City Manager here in Chelsea, and I'm extremely pleased to be offering this support to GreenRoots in their application for a Thriving Cities grant. GreenRoots is among the most effective and reliable community-based organizations that I work with here in Chelsea. In fact, whenever we have any kind of initiative that requires community engagement, I turn to GreenRoots for assistance, whether that might be where to place air monitors when we're trying to measure the impact of air pollution from Logan Airport, whether we're trying to implement solutions to the problem of urban heat islands, or even whether and where to locate new green space and parks in the community and how best to design them. When we're looking for community input and we're trying to get community consensus, I turn to GreenRoots. I can tell you that my job as city manager would be so much harder if I did not have GreenRoots as an effective partner.
Wednesday, Chelsea needs more green space.
It's really fun and every week.
Thank you so much for watching our presentation and listening to our story about Chelsea. I'm Roseanne Bongiovanni. I'm the Executive Director of GreenRoots, and I'll be helping to lead our group through the question and answer section.
Just a reminder to unmute evaluators.
Well, I guess we just start. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation, and love the music and the voices that you shared. This is actually really near and dear to my heart. My dissertation research was on climate change and extreme heat and the impacts on populations, particularly low-income communities and communities of color. So thank you for making the connections between not only COVID and environmental justice, but all the other pieces in air pollution that are all tied to increasing the vulnerability in your community. And so I have 2 quick questions for you. One is, I think I know this, but how did you prioritize the 212 Congress Avenue site as the first spot? And then secondly, what are the other health outcomes that you might be looking at in addition to reductions in asthma hospitalizations connected to extreme heat? I'd just be interested to know that as well.
Excellent, thank you. I can answer the first question about how we prioritize 212 Congress. And then for the second question, I'd like to pass it to Madeline Scammell, who's one of our board members and community members and is a professor of public health at the Boston University School of Public Health. So for the first question, we prioritized 212 Congress because we were seeing that throughout all of our city, there's, as you heard from Priyanka, there's such a scathing lack of open space and so much impervious surfacing. And with temperature monitoring and censoring that our young people were doing, our eco youth crew, we saw that this area of the city was one of the hottest areas of the city and also has the least amount of open green space. And so really casually, folks, like you saw with the Walk Wednesday folks, we've walked by the site for so long, and every time we all walk by, we say, that could be an amazing site for a park. That would be an amazing project to transform this vacant lot into something really amazing for the community. And so a developer purchased the property, and when he first came to meet with us at GreenRoots, we said, we've had our eye on this project. We really want to see this site be transformed into something beneficial for the city. Would you partner with us? And he agreed to partner with us, and the community members have been rallying around this site. And it's also in one of the most densely populated, all of Chelsea is densely populated, but one of the most populated neighborhoods with the least amount of open space, and the most folks who don't have access to open green space. So it was a natural prioritization for us. Madeline, I'm hoping that you could take the next question about improving health outcomes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was transitioning from being an attendee to a panelist when at the crux of your question.
Sure. You need me to repeat it, Madeline?
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. So I was just saying that a lot of my research has been around climate change and extreme heat. And I was very interested in understanding what other potential health outcomes you might be measuring in addition to the reductions in asthma hospitalizations as a result of all the interventions that y'all are working on.
Thank you. Yeah, well, one of the questions we've been asking and talking a lot about are just hydration patterns, people knowing that being hydrated, staying hydrated is important, and feeling confident in the quality of their drinking water, and having access to safe and healthy, clean drinking water to stay hydrated, talking about the signs and symptoms of heat-related illness, heat stress, what it looks like and how to anticipate it, especially during heat waves. And then sleep disturbances. So we've given participants in our studies Fitbits and watches to get a better understanding of their sleep disruptions, and working with residents to understand the short and long-term effects of not enough sleep and sleep disruption caused by extreme heat, which is cognitive as well as makes people vulnerable to stroke. And then the most vulnerable populations being the elderly and youth and infants in particular, SIDS, like we're not measuring this, but we're trying to raise awareness around the adverse effects of heat, especially at night when you least expect it.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Benita, did you want to go?
Yeah, mine is actually just about a little bit more granular, even around just the budget and the activities that are specific to the site. I'm, as somebody who comes from a campaign background, I would love to hear just a little bit more about the ideas around the sort of community outreach as well as the art installation. Yes, so I would love a little bit more sort of fleshing out of how you hope to have those sort of cultural pieces and placemaking pieces tie back to the overarching outcomes around public health and urban heat.
Sure, absolutely. So the budget for the project is still very much fluid, but depending on what the community would like to see there. And so we had a community visioning session planned with the Boston Society of Landscape Architects, who are donating their services pro bono on the project. And that session was supposed to be last week, but because of rain, we postponed it until tomorrow. So until we know exactly what the community members want to see on that space, we don't know what the full budget of the project will entail. We also know that the developer and the owner of the site will come forward with contributions, monetary contributions, but also in-kind services and contractual services to help realize the final project. Essentially, we're piecemealing this together because this is such a priority for the community that we don't have many resources right now that are just dedicated to this project, but we've said this fits perfectly with our mission, this fits perfectly with our just transition from COVID, and we need to prioritize this new open space. So it's been all hands on deck from all of the staff and our board members who are here today, like Grace and Marcos, and our community members like Stacy and Irma and Carmen, who are offering their services to just dig in, knock doors, make sure folks are involved and prioritize this as a community project. So I think the idea and what we've done before, our sort of history is that we come up with a community vision first, and then we work our butts off to try and fundraise to implement it. And so that's the plan here. We're going to have this community vision and we're going to work like crazy to make sure that it's fulfilled so that we're meeting the goals of our community. We have a few community members who are on, and so I don't want to be the talking head here, although I'm a Chelsea resident, lifelong Chelsea resident. There are lots of folks who have visited this space, who live in the neighborhood, who would like to see it be something else. So I don't know if I could just maybe have them say a word or two about what this site might mean for the community. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Unless there are other questions from the evaluators.
I've got a question, but I can wait.
Great, we've got 4 minutes left, so go ahead. That sounds good.
Okay. Carmen and Irma and Stacy, do you all want to say a little bit about, what this site might mean to community members if it was transformed into a new green space? You're on mute now, Stacy.
Okay. Hi, sorry. My idea for the space is an orchard. I'm thinking of apple trees, pear trees, grapevines, where people can come gather the fruits and just be together. I think that would be a great use for the space. Yo no sé si Carmen Irma quiere hablar del uso del sitio, de la parcela.
Sí. Hola Rocío, hola a todos. Sí, me encantaría mirar como lo que dijo Stacy, más espacio para que la gente pueda plantar, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
Y disfrutarlos en el tiempo de cosecha y eso sería excelente.
Carmen.
Stacy, 1 second. So just want to interpret that. So what Irma said is similar to what Stacy said. She would really love a place where folks could plant and harvest plants. Sorry, Stacy.
Okay.
Buenas tardes, Rosy. Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Carmen y yo secundo lo que dicen aquí mis compañeras. Sería bueno ese espacio para sembrar árboles frutales y así también tener un espacio para compartir con la familia, que cortar esas frutas en cada temporada que esté en las frutas y bueno, para dispersar a la familia, diversión, muchas cosas que se pueden hacer en ese espacio. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Carmen, Irma, y Stacy. Carmen said that similar to her colleagues there, that she would love to see a place where we could plant and we could grow. We could also share space with family members.
Great. So thank you so much. We have 1 minute left. I want to make sure Sadhu can ask his question.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to all of you. Great work. Really appreciate your sharing your vision for this with us. So I guess the question is, you said that the developer purchased the land. Who owns the land now, and what kind of length of tenure do you have if you were to proceed?
Yes, so Sayon Corporation purchased the property about 1.5 years ago, and they moved forward in front of the city of Chelsea Planning and Development Board, Zoning Board and Planning and Development Board, and they essentially got licenses and permits to construct their adjacent property, but part of their plan was to work with GreenRoots on this transformation into a green space. And so essentially it's included in all of their city plans that they will update the city as to the future use of the site together with community members. They're sort of waiting for our process to unveil, but they've committed to the city to see this project to fruition and to work with community members for it to be green. Right now, we don't have a written access agreement, if you will, because we, again, don't know what the final designs are, but what we've done with other properties in Chelsea on which we don't own, where we've planted community gardens and urban farms and parks, is we get a 3 to 5 year lease agreement, essentially no cost agreement, and then it rolls over every 3 to 5 years. And so the way we've done it from a community standpoint is either developed community benefits agreements or tied the improvements into the city's zoning permits and licenses. so that there's always a legal hook for these developers to work with community members.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you all so much. I'm sorry we have to make the transition to keep this.
Thank you all so much. It was wonderful to be with you this morning.
Thank you.